much to everyone who signed up and is here in the Zoom room. It's wonderful to see so many new names as well as the ones that we already know. So you're more than welcome, and please feel free to share this recording with anyone else that you think might be interested in finding out more about the brand new Generate Accelerator Programme Cohort 2. So just for anyone that doesn't know about the kind of context of this accelerator, GAP actually sits within Generate, and Generate is the entrepreneurship centre here at the school. We support students and alumni with no cap on alumni to build socially responsible businesses here in London, wherever you may be, but also across the world. Now, the Accelerator is just one of many of the events that we run all throughout the year, including funding competitions. Good luck to anyone who's in the funding competition finale on Friday. A whole range of different events, mentoring opportunities, and networking initiatives. But the idea is that we are supporting young innovators at every stage of their entrepreneurial journey, and actually just giving them the infrastructure to build, develop, and scale their ideas. So you are more than welcome. Moving on to the most important bit, which is why you guys are all here, and that is GAP 2021. Can't believe it's 2021 already, but we are just launching the world's first Shape Accelerator, which essentially supports entrepreneurs with a strong background in subjects or multidisciplinary teams that are helping us understand ourselves, others, and in true LSE style, the human world around us. We are looking for founders with strong business models and processes that are really rooted in shape disciplines, which covers social sciences, humanities, and arts, and are looking to create deeper, more colourful, and more valuable worlds for everyone. We are the UK's pre-seed student and alumni accelerator, and specifically looking for the best LSE startups, supporting them in getting to the next level of growth. We are really excited about this programme and fully believe that it's going to be a powerful vehicle through which impactful innovation can flourish. And I can't think of a more important time than right now to be doing this. So what is the programme? I think you've probably seen if you've had a little stalk on our website and if you've spoken to any of the team, but essentially we're looking to work with 12 socially responsible student or alumni ventures. The period is a 15-week programme, and we're kicking off in the second week of May, right up until a demo day in August 2021. So it's just over three months. Don't worry if you are not in the UK, because the programme will be delivered virtually. There will be in-person activities dependent on the current government advice, and we all know at this stage that there's no point in guessing what that might be and when and where. But just to let you know, if you are in London and you do get a place on the accelerator, then our co-working hub, which is based in Kentish Town, will be accessible to you. If you don't get in, the Gen Zen is also accessible to you as well, just to let you know. But in terms of what we are offering, the office space that I just mentioned, you'll get a nice little stipend. The global network, so as you all know, the alumni network is absolutely fabulous and actually integral to the smooth running and the success of our programme. And so we'll be opening that up to you. A whole host of online resources, access to partners, and mentorship and coaching. Next slide, please. So essentially, it goes down to it. Our mission is to equip entrepreneurs like you guys with socially impactful businesses to effectively commercialize, and that commercialize point is really important, but also to grow their ventures through GAP. We believe fully in the need to create fairer and more diverse entrepreneurial ecosystems, and we hope to lead by example there as well. We believe that entrepreneurship must be the great equalizer, where any founder should be able to build, do business, and create a really exciting and better future. Working really hard to ensure that the foundations of our programs and the recruitment processes enable equal access to all. And we can talk you through a little bit more about that in a bit. But if you want to have a look at our website, there's a little bit more around our code of conducts and the EDI and accessibility policies there as well.
I'm happy to jump in here, RJ.
Go for it. Thanks, Kieran.
Cool. Thanks, LJ, and thank you everyone for joining. My name's Kieran. I work with the LSE Generate in the program capacity across the variety of activities that are being executed. I just wanted to touch a little bit on the activity of us recruiting and what we're really looking for. So here's kind of the key basic criteria that we're looking for from founders and the startups themselves. You guys will hear very momentarily from a previous program participant of ours, Alice, who's on the call, and she will share a little bit about her journey. But just as a very high level, if you're questioning whether this is right, whether you fit perfectly into this, there's always a grey area in entrepreneurship. It's where the best entrepreneurs work. So please just reach out to us and let us know if you're kind of on the fence. But more often than not, we would love to see an application from a really interesting, aspiring founder. But make sure that at least one of your founding team members is an LSE student, staff, or alumni. Clearly have a demonstration of an understanding and awareness of your market, your customers and end users. When in doubt, go and speak to them. Talk to us about your conversations you've had. I know that might feel really early, but that's the kind of initial validation we are looking for and really excited to work with. Being on that pre-product, on the process of developing a proposition, MVP or brand. MVP is a minimum viable product. The most simple thing you can do to demonstrate value in a commercial sense, where someone's like, that's exciting. I have a problem and you've solved it. How can I pay? How can I engage with you on that level? Of course, we're a socially responsible program and we really care about businesses that align with these values that we've mentioned before. And so we really hope that you are working with it and towards at least one UN SDG. It's the most simple, universally accepted framework for creating socially responsible businesses. Hopefully, and very simply, it's easy to layer loads of other impactful work that you can be doing on top of your business as a platform for good. But just showing a real clear commitment to at least one of them is a really helpful way to align ourselves with you. Commit to a minimum of 5 hours. My colleague Matt will be speaking with you guys shortly about how our framework is slightly different and more developed to focus on your growth in specific sprint methodologies. And to really engage with that, we expect a minimum commitment of 5 hours per week through online activities and sessions. We appreciate that some activities might be able to be conducted in a hybrid format, but that's really important to us. Be interested in signing up for Founders Pledge. There's information and collateral on our website about the Founders Pledge commitment, but it's all about being able to, in a socially responsible way, support should your business have a future exit or future opportunity to re-engage with the community and the ecosystem and give back. That's one of our core principles. And lastly, be eligible to work in the United Kingdom if based in the UK. But as LJ mentioned, LSE's alumni community is massive. Staff and students and alumni operate all over the world, and we want to make sure our program is as accessible to all wherever you are in the world. We believe entrepreneurship is the great equalizer. LJ alluded to it before as well, some high-level stuff about what you can get as access through partnership in this program. However, all of this is dictated in the website as well. Some of the key points that I just want to reinforce, and I think having worked with founders across multiple programs, things that maybe you would overlook at first and over-index on, some key points I would have to reiterate is like the power of mentorship and the support network that LSE is able to bring and provide to your businesses. The comprehensive online curriculum that's being developed and constantly iterated on based on the feedback you guys give from our first weeks working with you all the way up until the final weeks, and the ad hoc support we can offer for introductions, partnerships, and proposals. Of course, like launching you out of this program through a really, really prestigious demo day in front of hundreds of partners. I think our previous demo days combined have over 1,000 participants, very much indexed in the investor and future partnership and future kind of pipeline of support offerings for startups, as well as a variety of discounts as and when you guys reach out to us and say we would like support with financial payment processing or cloud engineering or tooling or different design softwares. These are ad hoc relationships that we can leverage. Just also want to iterate, the program is designed with a capacity limit of 2 founders per startup, although that can be discussed at a later date should you have 3 or 4, and we can kind of figure out ways to add support and value to other members of your team wherever they are in the world or in your business positioning. I think I can hand over to LJ, who can introduce Alice and her work together. Alice.
Girls. Thank you. Thanks, Kieran. And just so you know, if you do get a place on the accelerator, you will be working with the brilliant talent that is Kieran, and he's absolutely awesome. So lucky you guys. Another person that is awesome is Alice, and she is one of our graduates from the founding inaugural cohort. And we thought it would just be might be really nice. She has obviously the recent and the relevant experience in having gone through an LSE accelerator. So just for her to kind of give you just a few minutes of her experience. Maybe Alice, if you can also speak to kind of, if you were here now, kind of coming to this webinar and wondering whether it's for you, any tips that you would give some of the best parts, the worst parts, well, I'm sure that won't take very long. And a real kind of honest account of what being on an accelerator is like and what kind of people should consider it. Thank you there, Alice.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. It's great to see so many people wanting to apply for the next cohort. I can't even think that it's been more than 1 year since we joined the first one. But anyway, for me, for us as a team, it's been an incredibly life-changing experience. I always say this, LJ knows it very well. It completely changed what it meant to do business, because personally, I didn't have any kind of foundation in the startup world, right? It was the first time for me running a startup. It is the first time, and going through this experience, we joined very early stage as a company, and going through this experience, it literally gave us the tool that we needed to say, okay, we can actually turn this early stage business into something that is scalable and makes sense and brings and generates a lot of value for our customers. So the two most important things that I wanted to touch on, and I think are the greatest benefits for people joining, and they have been for me, are the network validation that you get from being associated with the LSE. Very simply, when you can say we are part of the LSE community because our startup is backed by the LSE, it completely changes how people see you as an entrepreneur, because they see that kind of validation coming from an extremely respectable and esteemed institution. So for us, every time we say we've been in the London School of Economics Accelerator, or even 1 year on, it's like, oh, amazing, now I want to hear from you. And that changes the kind of the relationship that you can have with investors, with customers, with people. So that's great. And the other aspect is the mentoring, the mentorship that comes from the accelerator. I was actually just talking about the mentoring experience for a podcast as well, the LJ you I think you know about. The experience, the level of mentoring that you get through the accelerator means that every time you need something that you have no idea about, you will have someone to reach out to. There will be someone there for you, sitting next to you, or in this case, on a Zoom call with you, listening to what you're going through and helping you get where you want to be. Being with these people, extremely talented people, surrounded by these kind of people, it can really accelerate you as a founder, but also the whole business that you are running. I don't know how much time I still have. I can keep going. The good and the bad. Rather than the good and the bad, I would probably say that it really depends on you, because the level of support and mentors, etc., that the accelerator can provide is incredible, but only if you are open to receive it. Which means that, are you actually committed to do this? Will you be able to attend all the sessions? Will you be able to leverage these sessions? Will you be able to then reach out to the people who have been in these sessions and build relationships with these people, so that even after the 4-5 months accelerator, you will be able to still get advice from them? I think the key question to ask yourself before deciding, is this the right path for me, is how committed I am to my business. Because if you join the accelerator, it will be an extremely intensive experience, which can only change you if you are ready to be changed.
Thanks, Alice. That's really, really helpful.
Sure.
And if anyone has any other questions for Alice, feel free to pop them in the chat, or send her a slip into her DMs if preferable. Thanks, Alice.
No problem.
Awesome. I'll hand over to Matt now to share a little bit, but if anyone has any questions, Alice will maybe stick around for 5 minutes or so, and she can answer also in the chat, but we'll have a Q&A section at the end as well. Over to you, Matt.
Cheers, Kieran. I just thought it's worth doing a couple of minutes really just on the sprint methodology. I guess there's going to be a range of kind of experience in all the people who are applying. So I think it's just worth going into this a little bit, because often this is confusing for people. And obviously we want to talk about how we're applying it in our in our program. So really the sprint methodology is a way of just kind of helping you move really quickly and kind of make the most efficient use of the 3 months you've got. So what we do is in the beginning, we have an evaluation week where you'll be assigned a coach, and those coaches will be kind of matched as best possible with the kind of, I think it's just called in the questions, the kind of, the sector that your business works in and where you are in your stage. But you'll spend some time with those guys kind of agreeing what you think you can achieve in those 3 months. And then we'll kind of give you a little roadmap of what the next 3 months would look like. And then at the beginning of each 2 weeks, we'll do a kind of sprint planning session whereby you will sit with the coaches as a team, figure out what's the most important thing you're going to do, how much work that's going to be, who's going to do that, and kind of set yourself just that 2-week target. So rather than approaching it in a way where maybe you have a long list of things and you don't know where to start, the sprint methodology kind of helps you focus on the most important things. As part of that, you will be there's a kind of a stand-up process. So again, some of you will be aware of this. In development and product teams, that's often something that happens every day. I think that is up to the coaches and the teams as to whether or not that's right for you. But that could be every day, it could be twice a week. The point of those is really just to kind of check in with people every day, see what you're working on, and then kind of unblock people. So if there's any problems, you can kind of help each other address them. And then at the end of those, each 2 weeks, so every sprint will be 2 weeks, there will be what we call a show and tell. And really that's just a kind of an exercise where you can kind of share with the rest of the cohort what you've achieved in those 2 weeks. And that will be, a short slot. It could just be 10 minutes to say, right, in these 2 weeks, we've spoken to 20 customers. We've started to think about our business canvas, whatever it is that you've assigned. But that's broadly the sprint process. And there'll be 6 of those, and they will run for 2 weeks each. Kieran, do you have the...
Yeah, I can take over from here, or would you like to...
no, sorry, I can carry on here. So I mean, we've touched on a lot of this in the previous slides. Approximately, there's going to be 30 hours a month. So as Kieran said, it's kind of 5 hours a week of kind of programmed activity, but there will be chances for you to do more if you have that time. As part of each sprint, we will have kind of workshops or talks. The way that we're going to, in terms of who they are and what they're going to be, that's something we're going to kind of figure out as we know more what the cohort looks like. We learned from last year that if we program that if we're too rigid about that up front, then it doesn't necessarily meet the needs of the teams who make it through onto the cohort. So that will be something we'll kind of do in real time. There's 3 months to work on that. We want to make sure that if we're going to do a workshop or a talk, that it as best possible matches with the questions that you have as a group. And then I think, obviously networking opportunities, let's see what happens on that. We will do them virtually. If not, we can all get in the Gen Den and there'll be some great networking opportunities. Fingers crossed they will be able to do all of that. The team, there's LJ, do you want to go over this or?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some mystery guests, as you can see, and the reason that they are not being shown is because we haven't yet recruited them. The briefs are out, and we are hoping to bring them on in the next few weeks, and so they will be added to the program team. But as you can hopefully see there, we've got a really diverse team that are all going to be on hand to support you as you go through the accelerator. We're really excited to be working really closely with HSBC and also our entrepreneur in residence, Ramona Liberoff. If any of you who already worked with her, she is absolutely phenomenal, and she's going to be coming in and working with you guys on that. But we have a really strong team as well on the ops side. So with any kind of queries, we know this is a really weird time for everyone. So there might be issues that you guys have where basically the bottom line is that we're helping you kind of both on the business side, the founder kind of wellness side, and any queries that you might have, we're here to support you. Kieran?
Yes, so I was just unmuting myself. Cool. So as of, I think, Friday afternoon, the applications on Typeform went live. Today is our GAP webinar with Q&A. We will be closing the written phase of applications on the 12th. And that'll be at midnight. Okay. If there are any issues with regard to the application process, please feel free to reach out to me. My email will be shared with you guys, or any of the attendees. Anyone who's recording should also be able to have a direct contact link through the GAP website. We will be doing we'll be adding an extra layer that we didn't use last time we ran the program, which is an interview phase. And this is just a 20-minute Zoom call, which will be with myself, LJ, maybe Matt, and a couple of other members of our team. And this is an opportunity for us to get a little bit more information from you. The written application is quite thorough, but hopefully not too confusing by any means. We just want to understand about your team, your market, how much traction or product development you've done so far, and then a more broad strokes diversity kind of data capture and information, so we know that we're reaching out to all of the necessary communities to make sure the cohort is representative of the society that we live in. The interviews, you don't even have to really stress about it too much. The questions are very much focused on you as a founder and your business, and where you're taking it and where you hope to take it, and how our program can be adding as much value as possible to you and where you want your business to be one day. And everything will culminate in a final one-day pitching event where we'll be able to bring in a few more stakeholders, relevant alumni, relevant program participants, our team, and also prospective members of the business community, and with more broadly from the LSE network. And so this will just be a 5-minute pitch event. It will probably be about half an hour of your day, because there might be an opportunity for us to ask further questions or engage with you. But we just need you free on some part of the 26th, most likely in the AM. Hopefully within a couple of days, or even that day on the 26th, we'll be able to kind of select the final cohort, the final composition of 12 teams, and then we'll move on to program onboarding, which will be a variety of fun bits of paperwork, but basically just some logistics to bring you on, make sure all of the software that will be running the program will be downloaded and accessible to you, make sure all of our resources are in alignment with what you and with how you want to take the business forward. And also this will be an opportunity for you to meet the respective business coaches that you'll be allocated on the program. This will all end with a kickoff event on the 10th, and that's the first week of the program, where, as Matt mentioned, we would really like to get into the nitty-gritty of like the KPIs and how you want to monitor and manage your business moving forward, and how we can add the most value. I just spoke through all of this pretty detailed, but yeah, there's nothing too focused here, except the one really important point that I just want to keep reinforcing here. If there is anything that we can do to make that, if there is any reason you would need extra support in the application process, interview process, or alike, please let us know. We want to make sure this is an accessible application form and equitable and fair for all. So feel free to connect with me at any point in time. But the application process is pretty standard for anyone who's applied to any pitching competitions or accelerators before. One extra thing that we wanted to offer is office hours with me. Not because I'm an egomaniac, but because I was the one who pulled together the application process and form, and of course working with the team. But if you guys have any questions that you have, or if you're not 100% sure on what the questions are asking you or the such, I will share during the Q&A section. I will share a kind of a Calendly link on my Google Calendar, and feel free to grab some time with me. I will usually run these sessions on Thursday afternoons between now and the end of the application process. We want to make sure that we are approachable and accessible to you in this phase. Like, our door is always open. It's kind of why LSE Generate exists. So don't worry if you're not really sure if that question is really relevant. It probably more often than not is. And then we can amend our FAQ section on our website to make sure everyone gets those kind of answers and feels more comfortable in the application process. So I'm happy to give 20 minutes to anyone and everyone. Love working with founders in founder-facing activities. So please come ask questions and talk. I think that's everything. So happy to do. So there was one extra thing which I guess I can ask, and you guys can get in the chat, which is we're happy to kind of go through the type form itself, which is the list of all the questions. It looks daunting because there's loads of questions, but it's just because there's a lot of kind of basic data capture, like first name and last name and email, etc. So happy to run through that. Feel free to write in the chat if you would like us to do that, and otherwise we're happy to answer more broad strokes questions. Alice has 2 more minutes, so if you want to ask a question to Alice first, that's probably the best place to direct them. But thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Kieran, and thanks, Alice. I know you have to jump off. Alice is a really good example of someone who really gave it their all as well. And I think the success of an accelerator is not just everything that we kind of put together, but the people that join it. So yeah, if you're be like Alice.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alice.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
She's happy as well to share an info version of her pitch deck. I know that someone direct messaged us and just asked that, so we will share that after. We won't have the financial data, obviously, because that's confidential. But you can kind of get a gist for the kind of decks that we're looking at. Thanks, Alice.
Okay, bye. Good luck, guys.
There's a question from Harris and LJ, which I think you could answer while I get up the application form.
Yeah. Okay. So just in terms of commitment to the founding members, yeah, I think as long as we have at least one person in the team attending those 5 hours a week, then that's fine. Would the CEO be able to commit to that and have other founding members? Yes. If the CEO keeps them updated on the overall progress, yes, absolutely. And that's another question that came in around the time zones. We are more than aware that we have people in Mumbai and Lagos and Lisbon, and so we're going to try our very best to make sure that the sessions work for the time zones. We're not expecting you to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning speaking to your mentor, so don't worry too much. It makes no difference whether you're in London or Melbourne. How much progress generally have people made, as in for the application? Kieran, do you want to speak to that based on the last accelerator? Oh, you're on mute.
And damn it, I was working so hard for that not to happen. As in for the application, as in people progress from pitch deck or the business. Yeah, so full transparency, like the accelerator journey, I think Alice put it so perfectly. It's about like mental preparedness and readiness to be part of a program, right? You are going to be investing like a significant amount of hours that you would normally just invest into your business, into the program itself, into the community, into your personal development as a founder. And so some of the things are really are very obvious. If you join a program and you have a product, it's very easy to measure growth or like progress, right? Because do I have more customers? Do I have more sales? Do I have more activities? If you come to a program and you pivot really early on, or your team changes, or the structure of the organization changes, sometimes you might feel like you're kind of treading water. And actually, when you take a huge step back, and we make a huge emphasis on reflection and reflexivity when you're on our programs, but you'll appreciate so much more personal development growth, network growth, and learnings and leadership growth that I think are a little bit harder to measure. I can really confidently say, like, of the 19 teams that were on our previous LSE LSE kind of partnerships program, which was across the UK, and the previous Gap Accelerator that I was like kind of a mentor on, I saw a huge amount of growth, and I think I would really like look at it as a trajectory shift. And so that's really hard because you don't really know what your trajectory was before or on day one of the program, but it's really evidence when you see the community like pulling everyone up with their constant and perpetual successes and growth and learning. And so, yeah, there is definitely like if your company comes in at a good time when your business and your product are at a really malleable stage and there's a lot of growth that can be taking place, that's really evidenced. And then there's also, if you are here to learn and become a better founder yourself, that's also another kind of dimension to it too. I hope that answers your question. And LJ, if that ticks the box.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Thank you. And just in response to Michael, hi, Michael, I haven't seen you for ages. Is there a minimum number of team members? One. There needs to be one of you at least. And don't worry if you are a sole founder. There was plenty of them on the last accelerator. So that's absolutely fine. Could you give examples of the best ways of showing understanding of the end client? Would service experience in the field count? Kieran, you want to answer that?
Yeah, sure. So me and Matt have had an interesting conversation about, especially like there's a question where we refer to customers and end users. And so your awareness of the difference between someone who's like a transactional customer and ready to engage and deliver, where you deliver value to them, and then a user who also finds subsequent value from how you work. For instance, if you're building like a platform or a marketplace where there's more than one person transacting, you can talk in like a lot of depth around conversations you've had. It's really nice to know if you can set like a number to that, which is like, in the last 4 months, we have spoken to X number of people, businesses, organizations. And this is kind of some of the evidence conversations that we've had. You don't need to kind of drop in the data, the raw data set from a huge type form that you've done or anything too substantial or arduous, but we want to have clear understanding that you have really engaged with a specific customer group and learned about their problems and understand where their pain points are. So it's not enough to say, oh, I've spoken to 10 customers about my product and they all love it. It's really about evidencing an awareness and understanding and progress from just, okay, I have this idea for a solution to I understand my customer, their pain and why they would like the solution. And I have built something in accordance with the kind of the struggles that they're facing and something that really solves a problem and that's evidence that. Large data sets are always really helpful. Market research is great too. We don't really mind if there is a big player in the market and you were trying to become like enter a space. Like big players are great, they show competition, but evidencing how you're different, how you're really satisfying a need, that's really important for us. I don't know, Matt, if you want to add anything else to that.
I think there's no substitution for speaking to people. That's my short version. If you're just starting out and you have a hunch and you want to validate that, speak to as many people as possible. When you've done that research and you maybe got some patterns, or you kind of got further with understanding them, then I'd suggest maybe doing some quant research where you can go out to a broader number. But at the beginning, it's all about just speaking to people, and there's all stacks of different ways you can do that. But yeah, get in front of people. That's all I'd say.
Thanks both. There's a question around team members. I think again, Kieran mentioned that there can only be two founders. We've got quite a large team, so just wondering how we can make the application fair to everyone in the team.
Yeah, so in our previous program, we had a team with like five co-founders, and then a subsequent team of like 15 like ad hoc volunteers and part-timers and contractors, and that was the largest team I've ever worked with. The program is designed in a way where like if we can get 2 core members of the team to really invest time in the program, and it is, as I mentioned before, it's a big time investment to make sure you can get the most out of the program because you're getting out what you put in. That's really how we would kind of structure it. Now, that doesn't mean that the co-founders can't be part of the community or engage in some of the resources, but if we're trying to run a workshop for like 12, 15 founders or a small co-founding team, and all of a sudden one team has 12 people in it, it kind of skews the narrative and the dialogue and how people are learning together. So it's kind of about balancing that and make sure the community and ecosystem is kind of fair and accessible, especially since there'll be some co-founders in there, so some founders in there who are solo.
And just to add to that as well, obviously, as Kieran said, there'll be other events, so socials and things like that, where we'd love to see you all and kind of get to know your teams better. Do put everyone in your application. If we want to see your team and we want to understand the makeup of it, even if it doesn't mean that they will be present in the sessions, we really want to understand, the kind of the makeup of that team. Solo founder shall also work. Yes, it shall.
Yeah, just to be clear, like I feel like some solo founders are sometimes nervous when they're pitching themselves. Like you won't be penalized if you're a solo founder. What we just want to understand is like, why are you the right person to found this business now? So looking at your experience, reflecting on the course, the extracurriculars you've done while at university, but also any interim work experience or placements you've done. Why has your lived experience built a defensibility to why you would be a good founder?
Yeah.
I just have a question about the shape aspect of the program. Does that need to have an influence on the business model itself, or is that more to do with the founders need to have experience in the social sciences and the humanities?
Yeah, although we have also had a question from a mathematician, and all disciplines are absolutely welcome. There might well be some sessions that are led, for example, by the RCA around kind of design-led innovation. So it just means that the curriculum is slightly kind of geared towards, but there's no, in terms of the criteria, we wouldn't exclude someone with a maths background, for example.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
The other thing I wanted to just mention, because it came up in the direct, and it's also it's often something that people ask about Generate, but the program is absolutely open to undergrads and postgrads, and I wouldn't ever want any undergrad to feel intimidated or feel that they're going to be the only undergrads on the program, and even if they are, they would be fully part of the party. And I can see some undergrads in the room now, so I just want to say you are more than welcome and expected to be applying as well.
Thank you for that.
On the other end of the spectrum, we had Harry, who said he's an alumni from 1992. So there is absolutely no age limit at all. As long as you want to engage and be part of this community, we want to hear from you. Happy to. Melanie, how much detail do you hope to see in the budget resource needed to build an MVP? Good question. I'm a huge advocate, and I think I'm speaking on behalf of Matt too. Like no code, low code solutions in like 2021 are more than enough to prove concepts. And so I would love to be running a session or getting people in to run sessions on that really early stage building. If you haven't built already and you're just looking for a better strategy to approach that, we have a huge amount of resources and a very large network in the broader ecosystem of people who are builders, makers, and innovators. And we would love to support you on that journey. But you need to have like a really clear evidenced kind of approach and strategy. I don't think there's any reason why people can't hack together really ad hoc, very basic solutions. You don't need to be a techie to kind of build a very simple MVP solution. And like the best things I've seen from founders who apply to programs like this is when they become the MVP solution, right? So it's a website and we do X, and then you're doing X behind the scenes. You're doing all of the hard grafting, whether it's off Excel spreadsheets, you're sending emails, you're ordering activities and managing the entire process. That to me is an MVP. It's in itself. And you can go all the way down to like, I'm going to do this on paper and PowerPoints, and I'm going to do this myself, and also start to try and learn really rudimentary programming to kind of put the initial technology stacks together. We do work with products as well. So if you're looking at building a product, either that be hardware or non-technical, like we're happy to hear from you and what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. I hope that kind of helps a little bit and makes a bit more sense on what you only have 250 words to explain that MVP section anyway, so you don't have to go too overboard in how you want to build that.
Thanks, Kieran. And Marad, in answer to your question, yes, Kieran will be sharing his link so you can book in some office hours. That's absolutely fine. Chris, thank you for your question as well. Well, obviously we don't know yet because we haven't confirmed the cohort, but just looking at kind of previous cohorts and just the general kind of Generate makeup, I would say that the majority of the previous accelerator were recent graduates, just because quite often that is when you have time to actually focus on your business and really dedicate some valuable time to that. That's not to say this year will be the same though, just because we're living in really bizarre times. And so people have more time and are able to kind of contribute in different ways. I think there were more postgrads than undergrads, but again, that doesn't mean that we're not looking for those undergrads. I think it just reflects the way that people approach entrepreneurship as a career path. If they've done an undergrad at another university, they might have dabbled a little bit more with entrepreneurship and have more of a feel for it. And as I said, as an alum, they focused previously on their course and they wanted to pass that, and now they hopefully have, and they have some dedicated an opportunity to dedicate some really good time to that. But I mean, the ratio doesn't mean anything, I think, in today's setup.
Great question from Bilal. We can't say yes if you apply earlier. There's a massive increase, but there is statistically a better chance of getting on to the next stage of the interview process if you apply earlier, because we are interviewing on a rolling basis as well. Does the project need to have a legal corporate entity for the stipend to be delivered? LJ, on the logistics side?
No, I don't think it does.
No, by the end, like you can apply to this program without having not incorporated yet, but by the end, it's more likely, I think, for most programs that I've ran in this level, by the end of the program, you'll be ready to do that process. And we have the necessary paperworks, and we have a variety of founders who've already done that process too. So we have people who can help you talk that through. Sometimes it's a little bit more daunting to kind of put your name on a legal entity, and we completely appreciate that. But you do not need a business bank account to receive the stipend as it stands.
Yeah, and just to follow on from what Kieran just said, just with my kind of immigration lawyer's hat on, I'm not an immigration lawyer, but just if you are considering applying to be, well, if you're wanting to be endorsed by the LSE for the startup visa, just make sure that you haven't incorporated that business, because as soon as you have, then that doesn't allow you to be endorsed. And if you have any other questions around that, if you just contact us or ISFAT, and we'll be able to give you the lowdown. But yeah, but do be careful. I don't want that to be a barrier to you being able to stay in the UK.
Yeah, ahead of the office hours, I'm also not a kind of a lawyer with any regard to startup visas. I have a very rudimentary understanding of the process. So if you do want to speak about that, please maybe don't grab an office hour with me to talk about your business. And instead, we can point you in the right direction of the relevant parties who can help you with that. Just before any other questions kind of slip in, can everyone see the type form here? Sweet. So what we'll be doing is we'll upload this video, this in a video format on YouTube up to the kind of the landing page or one of the early pages. So you feel free to read or watch through it again if you need to remind yourself of any of the points that we made. But we also have a link here to a Notion page. So if you click this document, it will take you through to a Notion page. And on the Notion page, it has all of the questions in an editable format. I absolutely hate it when I'm applying for things and I have to go and copy each Typeform question into a Google Doc and then work on it with my team. So feel free, you can just copy all of these questions over to any editable format you want and you can work on them. So as we said, there's a section about you, there's a section about your business, there's a section about your achievements and traction, and then there's a kind of a equality data and inclusion data capture section. So about you, first name, last name, email, URL, business name. If you don't have a business name yet and you just have a project name, put that in. It doesn't really matter to us. Are you a student, staff member, or alumni? What's your degree, background, subject, and when did you graduate / when will you graduate? All of this stuff is really, really basic. Approximately how many days a week do you spend on your business? We assume 8-hour working days, so just kind of give us an estimate between you and your kind of the next most engaged co-founder on your team. We do have up to 7, but if you put 7, I will assume you are lying because I don't think any of you guys are working 7 days a week, and if you do, that's kind of unhealthy, and we should think about a better work-life balance. On the section about your business, it's kind of the bog standard stuff here. We have a one-liner, problem you're solving, how you're planning to solve that problem, why is now the right time, tell us about your team, is your business a product or a service, is your business a hardware, software, or other solution, who is the main competitor, who is solving this problem the best right now, what UNSDG do you work to align with, are you based on social science research? And this is kind of back to the previous questions that we do accept people from all sorts of backgrounds. It's kind of just, is your business based on a research backed kind of discipline? If you have a website or some type of social media, that's really important, and where you host most of your content and materials, that's really helpful. And also, if you do have a pitch deck, then please do upload it. There is no expectation. Please don't feel overwhelmed in that you have to create a really beautiful pitch deck. If you haven't got one already, if you do, that's a really helpful asset for us to look through. But if you don't, please don't stress too much about that. And then kind of lastly, on the achievement side, we really want to understand the conversations you've had, the data you've captured, and both quantitative and qualitative information you have on how far you're taking this business forward. And then just lastly about funding and how you plan to use the stipend. So that's kind of just at a high level, but there's really nothing too arduous, I think, on that application form.
Kieran, you just had a question. Question 11: is an average between co-founders or a sum?
Good question. I would say average between co-founders. So if you're solo and you work maybe three days a week, so anywhere between kind of like that 16 to 24 mark, then feel free to put it in as a solo. And then the same thing if you, as your founders scale up, just put the number in based. I can actually tweak the description section of that to make that a little bit more clear, because I appreciate if 2 of you are working 3 days a week, that's 6 days a week.
And then there was one question around the tech capabilities of the mentors. You mentioned the no-code solutions, but will tech founders be able to benefit from respective sessions?
Yes, so of course we appreciate that some of you guys will join with some of the founders will join with a bit more of a technical competency. I think our differentiator isn't in technical capacity, but we definitely have a really extensive network of tech leaders in their respective spaces, both on the CTO level, but also at a junior engineering level and everything in between. So the no-code, low-code automation sessions that I would love for us to be running, I hope will be valuable for everyone, even the like much more advanced technical people. But if you do have a substantial technical background, we would love to find like support in maybe more specific ad hoc ways with necessary introductions, or kind of back on that software stack element. How can we make your stack more affordable? So is it getting discounts or providing software partnerships with the relevant cloud and other agencies?
Yeah, and I think more broadly as well, kind of tech or otherwise, it's really important to know that we, after we did a kind of a thorough post-mortem for the last accelerator, one of the things that came up was this kind of real desire to have quite a tailored approach to an accelerator. And that's one of the reasons that you'll be joined up with coaches that will be able to help you kind of with your specific needs. And if not, as Kieran said, as we mentioned earlier, we have a really strong network of alumni and industry professionals outside of that alumni network that we can hopefully help you join up the dots with. Kieran, some questions around the financial predictions on the pitch deck.
Sorry, where's the question coming in from?
Are we actually, because does understanding the client also include the potential monetization, and would you want to see basic financial predictions on the pitch deck, e.g. potential market share captured?
Gotcha. So yeah, it's kind of on that business model and monetization strategy part of it. On a pitch deck, I think, especially when you're like either pre-product or like pre-revenue, it's a lot of painting a future. And so having a comprehensive understanding of where you would like to take that business forward and the strategy to monetize, and evidence of that fact of, I think we have a business to consumer product, so we're selling to customers, and here's how much we can charge to a customer, and here's the feasibility behind that. I think that's really, really helpful. And if you can evidence that, that's great, and show you have an understanding of a business model. But I also appreciate if you like, a lot of you, I think by the end of the program will have modified that and pivoted that by the time you get to the end, whether that be because of macroeconomic effects like COVID, or whether that be because of smaller, more nuanced information you get along the way, whether it's how your competitors are reacting to certain things, or how you're working. So a really comprehensive understanding at the beginning is a massive advantage, but by no means does that mean if you're not really confident on how you think this is going to get monetized, that will massively penalize you. It's somewhere in between. Sorry, that's a little bit vague. Also, I'm just going to share a bit.ly, which should take you to a Google Calendar that should help you book time with me. Just make sure your time zone is like corresponding to where you are actually in the world, because if you aren't in New York but your GCal is accidentally set to New York because you don't use GCal, then I won't be waking up at 4 a.m. to speak to you. I'm sorry.
Oh, what commitment is that?
Yeah, you're not right. Okay, I take that back. Okay, but my working hours are 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. for office hour calls.
Any other questions just before we tie up the ends? Thanks. Have there been occasions where the GAP participants, especially solo founders, collaborated and worked on the same business towards the end of the program? No, because I think the main, and Kieran might be able to add to this, but part of the criteria is you have a kind of a baked idea, and there will be collaboration in terms of that kind of peer support system, but we haven't yet seen any founders that have kind of merged their idea. I mean, not that can't happen, but we haven't seen it to date. Kieran, any experience in your acceleration?
Yeah, wasn't on cohort 1, weren't there 2 teams that worked together to do food parcels and packages during COVID? It wasn't really a business model, but it was a real collaboration effort.
Yeah, it was a collaboration.
Right?
Yeah, totally. And I think collaborations are absolutely possible. I think in terms of the ideas that they kind of applied with, if that's what you're asking, there wasn't any kind of mergers.
Yeah,
but we're not. I mean,
I would say like a better example, like not a better example, but like an example on my program, which I always go back to, was I had the founder who was working on a financial strategy card game to teach kids about like finances. And he wanted to overthrow Monopoly's monopoly on card games and board games. And he was this really lovely Singaporean guy who was new in Manchester and wanted to do something different. He started on this amazing business, and he was basically printing them out in the library, just pieces of paper, and walking around the library and challenging people to like play cards with him. And very strange like acquisition strategy, but he got lots of cool feedback. The real like light bulb moment for him was we had a team also on our accelerator who was running a little bit more of a B2C platform and worked really heavily on an influencer campaign, kind of before influencer campaigns were really edgy, and they worked really in that micro influencer level. And they taught him how to kind of run that, and he ran an influencer campaign with all of the like board and card game fanatics across the UK and then across Europe. And off the back of that, a very small boutique board game licensing company got in touch with him and licensed the board game and got it into WH Smith and John Lewis within 6 months. The average turnaround time for a board game in Hasbro is about 2 years and like 15 people full time. And so this one guy printing paper in the library was able to turn it around in 25% of the time and get it into stores that don't even normally stock like kind of like ranked like 3rd or 4th level Hasbro games. And so it all came from a conversation in the equivalent of the Gen Den talking about the power of influencer marketing, something that he would never expose himself to and wasn't really aware of. And he gave his product away for free to a handful of influencers, and it just kind of spiraled from there. And so what I think you'll take away more from this program than the likelihood of you starting an entirely new novel business with someone, even though you're going to be surrounded by really impressive, passionate people, is the kind of the ad hoc recommendation or I put you in touch with someone I spoke to last week who I think is way better for you than it is for me, and that really, let's pull each other up and help this ecosystem grow together. Just you'll never really know until you're in the community and really giving as much as you're getting. That's when you'll find these really inspirational moments of opportunity, and that's when the great founders will be able to take full advantage of that. And I guess not really direct answer to your question, but
that is also something that doesn't just stop. But when the accelerator ends, like even this morning when I woke up, there were a few messages on the WhatsApp from the previous LSE accelerator that obviously finished over 6 months ago. And we haven't spoken too much about the kind of alumni cohort from this, but yeah, the main message is that this is just a kind of springboard, and your cohort will hopefully be your kind of peer support system going forward as well. So that's something that's really exciting. I think sometimes undervalued in accelerators, but we're going to put a whole load of resource into that to make sure that you don't just kind of fall off the cliff when you graduate, but you have that really core group of supporters and champions alongside you. Thanks, Sam.
Just on Daniel asked a question about office. And what I would say in terms of a workflow is if you have a couple of questions about how you're answering, feel free to grab some time with me and just run them by me first. But I don't think it's so effective if you submit a full application and then I have to review that application and then give you feedback. So maybe come to me before you press submit. If you've already submitted and you just wanted to jump on this to find out more, just drop us a line and we can hopefully facilitate something there. But yeah, try and get the feedback before you fully submit the application. Something we also do get is sometimes people are working on multiple business ideas. Sometimes great founders can come up with like really amazing ones. I think it was Uber, the founding team of Uber when they finally landed on Uber, they were working on 5 businesses and they went ahead with Uber, and it was a very good choice for them. Unless you guys will think you're the founder of Uber, which very well could be possible. Pick one. Feel free to apply at first level, but if you have 2 really interesting applications, we're probably going to ask you to pick one to take forward anyway. That's what I've done historically, because they just don't. You're probably not going to get on the accelerator and have 2 businesses places on the accelerator. So yeah, I would just say focus down on one. And if you're really on the fence, spend the next couple of weeks really speaking to your customers and figuring out where you want to invest your time.
And that would be a good example of how to use an office hour as well with Kieran, just to kind of go through those examples with you, and he'll give you a heads up on which one he thinks might be the best one to take through the accelerator. Any final questions? This is not the end. So if you do have a question that suddenly kind of springs to mind, just feel free to obviously book an office hour or email us. And there'll be plenty more information coming. We've got a cool new video we're about to share. We're really excited about, trying to act cool about it, but it looks good. And there'll be plenty more opportunities to engage with us and ask your questions. But otherwise, all the best. Thank you so much for coming along today. It's really great to see so many of you, and all the best with your applications. Good luck. And we look forward to launching that cohort in May, and hopefully some of you will be on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Good luck.
Bye.